Good morning, good morning. 2 weeks of being locked up in a hotel here doing quarantine in Sydney. We have been naughty, haven't we? Anyway, it's all over, and today we've got our wristbands, our get out of jail free cards, and we're getting ready to set off and hit the road. Michelle hasn't shrunk. She's actually she's actually packing a bag there. We've got a long drive. We've got to get to the airport. Takes about maybe an hour or so. Get to the airport, and then we've got a 12-hour drive back home to Melbourne, Australia. Hopefully it all goes well. We'll take you along for the drive. Anyway, we're getting out of here. See you on the road. I've just loaded the bags up on the trolley outside. Nobody comes to help you leave. So you can see the bags are on the trolley. And as far as I can tell, we just head out.
But I'll let back in once we go.
No, there's no key to these doors. So once we're out, we better be ready to be out.
Yeah.
Okay. So, no concierge. I don't even know where to go, to be honest. Do you remember where the lifts are, Michelle? We've booked a cab, which should be arriving in the next 10 minutes or so. Man, where's the way out? Okay, this is probably where the security normally sit. Yeah, it's very odd. We have got a lot of gear.
This one, I think. This one.
Okay. Lower ground or ground?
Don't know.
Okay, we'll probably have to stop filming and going down into the lobby. So, wow. Okay. So the taxi is here. You guys are here all the time, are you?
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Kind of weird. Okay, so we're in our taxi, the 1-3 taxi. Lovely guy here from Sydney, but I think originally from North India.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so lovely guy, and he'll drop us off at the Thrifty, where we will pick up our vehicle and drive. I'll try and document it as we go. What a lot of grief. The taxi driver, the app said paid, everything was done. We went on our bank. It said paid, everything done, so we actually had the transaction on our bank, but he kept saying, oh no, I want to charge you, I've got to charge you, I haven't been paid. So in the end, we've actually paid the taxi driver twice now, and we'll argue it with 1-3 cabs at a later date, because I spoke to their help desk, and they said the best thing to do would be just to pay the taxi driver, and we'll deal with it later. This is a fast 1-3 cabs. Okay, so the car's packed to the gunnels. Thank you to Alex at Thrifty, and thank you to Sonny. I don't know why. I mean, he was a nice guy, but I've paid twice. I can see it now. We just got on our bank account. It's paid twice, and it's paid the second one slightly higher. So, pain in the backside.
Just follow the road. Can a bird take flight in the sky with no map and no compass for thousands of miles, and just glide through the air on a wing and a prayer till the day he finally arrives?
So we're back driving in Australia, which is really just an exercise of avoiding fines. This isn't like driving, I don't know about the US, probably not even like driving in the US, to be honest. I was going to say not like driving in the UK or in Europe, where you can pretty much pull over anywhere you want and, you know, get out and do this now, that you're always very cautious when you're driving in the city centres anywhere in Australia, that it is really just like a fine avoiding exercise. Everywhere's got sort of, you can't park here, you can't park there, speed cameras everywhere. You'll see here on the left there are what look to be yellow dashed lines, and there are sometimes you can park there and sometimes you can't, and I'm really not willing to take the risk. But quite often when you're driving down these roads, there'll be just cars parked. So for instance, the ute that's on the left up ahead of us, quite a way ahead of us, he might have to suddenly pull over to the right because there might be a car parked. So that's Liverpool.
So if you went that way, that's the toll road.
Okay, that's the toll road, the M5, yes, going out of the city. We're actually going to be avoiding the tolls on the drive back because we haven't got a city tag. So we're going to be sort of driving alongside the toll roads.
It actually adds no extra Ks to the journey, really. Maybe one or two, but we're good with no toll roads.
I haven't been so anxious driving a car for a long time. I'll be fine once I've got into the flow of things. But yeah.
It's a bit of a, is it baptism of fire, where you just straight into the city
centre. Yeah, which is all good. It comes back pretty quickly. It's like riding a bicycle. But the taxi driver was saying, you know, you got to be wary of the kangaroos on the road. There are apparently a lot of roos on the road between here and Melbourne, which never used to be.
Turn left onto Canterbury Road.
Canterbury Road. So yeah, he's saying there's a lot of kangaroos on the road. I've never found that to be the case on the Hume Highway before, but we'll see. We'll be cautious.
And we're driving during the day, so it shouldn't be such an issue.
This is pretty typical of what you would see in Australia. Tell me what you think this reminds you of, if it reminds you of any other country in the world. It's fairly unique to Australia, but there are places I can think of in the world that feel a lot like this. Everything's sort of flat roofed. You'll notice there's very few pitch roofs on these buildings, so a lot of flat roof properties, a lot of very industrial looking properties, and this is pretty common. Got to just be careful, there's a car coming up, turning right. So yeah, this is pretty common when you're driving through the suburbs of even Melbourne. It's much the same as this, to be honest, when you're driving through Melbourne, doesn't it, Michelle? It looks just the same.
Just the same. You could be in Melbourne now.
Could be in Melbourne, feels exactly the same. And a lot of these single story, what we would call in the UK bungalows, they don't call them bungalows here in Australia, they call them units. And that's the same whether you're in Melbourne, whether you're up in Brisbane, whether you're in Perth, all the big cities, much the same. If you get into the very centre of Sydney, you'll find there are actually some two-storey old style brick houses as well. In some of the suburbs, such as Lane Cove and a few of the others that have that style. But pretty much as it spreads out, you've got this single story look. It's Australia, that's what it looks like. So between 100 and 110 kilometres an hour, if you convert that to miles an hour, it's pretty slow driving between cities. But you daren't go above the speed limits because there's so many speed traps on these roads. But yeah, this is pretty much what it looks like. You'll get the black top, and you'll get this sort of shrubs growing either side of the road. It changes a little bit as you get up to Queensland. The flora becomes a little more tropical. But this part of the world, it's going to be a lot like this all the way for the next sort of 600, 700, 800 kilometres. Well, I'm going to say it hasn't stopped raining since we just got outside of Sydney. So the whole sort of 2.5, 3 hours we've been driving so far, the rain has just come down endlessly. So that's a little bit disconcerting because it's pretty driving rain as well. A lot of big wind turbines. Not sure where we are. We're probably south of Goldberg. Okay, we just crossed the border control. They were great. They scanned our, we got passes to get across the border, and they weren't at all worried by it. They just said, welcome home, all good. So we're pretty happy. But you've got to have a permit to cross now from New South Wales into Victoria, which is going to be really tricky for the people that live in this town, because this town is divided by the two states, Albury and Wodonga. Wodonga, I think, is in is in Victoria, and Albury is in New South Wales. Excuse me, let me just... First bit of sunshine today. Hey! So we've literally crossed into Victoria and the sun's come out, which is a good thing. And yeah, no real issues at all. So happy about that. Once we arrive, we've got to drop this car back at Melbourne Airport, and then my daughter is picking us up and dropping us home. Happy days. So now it's getting to dusk on the roads, and this is the only time I'm a lot more wary about driving in Australia, because dusk is when the kangaroos tend to come out, and they quite often head to the blacktop because it's hot from the day's sun. So if you're out in sort of outback Australia, they'll often come on to the blacktop to get the residual heat that's coming off of the tarmac. Probably got about an hour and a half left to drive, so we'll have to drive all the way through dusk, and it'll be dark by the time we get to Melbourne. So I think I'm going to end it here. We're not going to do any more filming. Hope you've enjoyed this little look at the getting home, the last leg of getting home to Victoria after being stuck 2 years almost overseas, about 19 months probably since we've been trying to come home. But we're home now, or we're close to home now. It's all good. See you in another video. Take care.
With no way to show it to you in the flesh. If you follow the road till it leads you back home, you'll find that the answer is yes.